thank you. I'm Emily Duncan. I'm a PhD candidate at the university and a coordinator of the Guelph Library. My question is in relation to the budget. We know that Budget 2019 was released this week and has caused quite the stir in Ottawa. I'd like the candidates to talk about what they thought was the most promising item in the budget and something that if they were elected as MP they would support, and what item they thought was the most contentious and how they would like to address it.
Thank you. I think we're back with you.
Yeah.
Thank you for asking this question, Emily. First of all, Tool Library, yes. Love it. Amazing. I'm so glad that you exist. And I'll be honest, I haven't had a chance to read the budget yet. So I would love, if you would like, afterwards, I can give you my email, my phone number, and we can have this conversation later on after I've read this, because I think it's a really important question. And in order to answer it, I feel like I need to get all of those details in front of me so we can talk later on if you're open to it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you just grab my thoughts. I also am a huge fan of the Guelph Tool Library. I use them for my rallies and my protests. Love your speaker and mic. And I also have not had a chance to see the budget for 2019. That is something that I'm very excited to know that was released. It definitely seems like something I will look over. And also, feel free to contact me. I will also give you my contact info, and we can totally discuss this. Because that is always something really fascinating. And I do know I also mentioned stuff about the federal budget with my comment about universal basic income. So I'd love to look at the 2019 one.
So if you really want to know what I think, you should go to my website, speakforguelph.ca. I wrote a press release and I sent it out to the media, and I put my thoughts up there. So real quick, the thing that there's some significant spending in there for First Nations. So first off, I really like to hear what First Nations people think about the spending and how those priorities are addressed there. I want their input before I comment more on that. There is some spending for the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, some things for eco-efficiency. And here's where I get really angry. I'm really angry about this. They've made an announcement that they're going to make an announcement if they win the election.
Yes.
What this does is it undermines people who want, like the idea was, you're going to get $5,000 if you buy an electric car next year. Imagine you're someone who sells electric cars and you're going to make a sale this weekend. But now these guys have promised $5,000 next year. They just hammered our families, and it's like, people can't make decisions. You're going to wait, you're going to sit on your hands. It's very destructive to our economy. Very self-serving, and you see I'm angry about this? I'm angry about this.
Well, I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to grab two things out of the budget that I was quite excited about. One was the $5,000 electric car rebate. I think that's really important. And I think there was a nice twist that they put the $42,000 cap on the vehicle purchase price. So that means that the arguments that people had in Ontario, it's like, well, that's great. We're subsidizing Teslas for rich people. That doesn't make any sense. And I'm on board with that idea. The other one is the $1 billion that has been pumped on the Federation of Canadian Municipalities doorstep for various different environmental or energy efficiency initiatives. Great news. When you're also spending in excess of $3 billion on purchasing a pipeline, that's a bit of a problem. You do not hitch your cart to a dying horse. We could also spend that money on electric typewriters. It would be just about as useful. So I'm mixed feelings about that one. I feel both I'm really excited because Guelph will be able to take advantage of that money, but also frustrated. So that's all I have to say about that.
I too am very pleased that there's money designated for the First Nations. I think as we walk the road of truth and reconciliation, it's obviously going to take a lot more than money, but I think money will help to back that up, and I think it will give us focus. I'd like to sneak another one in there, and that's the food policy. Food Secure Canada, the Canadian Federation of Agriculture, different groups have been developing food policies for a long time. The last time we had a national food policy was during the Second World War. It worked really well, and at that time we recognized there was an urgency. Today we do not recognize as much that there's an urgency, but if we start with the circular food economy in Guelph, I'm pleased to see that there's money in the budget for that, and I think it'll be good for Canada to have a food policy. What I'm not happy about is that there's another deficit. It seems to me that if we're going to have financial resilience as climate change comes, we have to have both ecological and financial resilience. These are generally good economic times. We should not be going into deficit during good economic times. I think we should not have deficits and stay away from going further into debt.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bill Hewlett. I've done a few things in this town over the years. But my latest thing is I have a news blog that I've been putting out for a few years called Guelph Backgrounder. And in that I did a series of articles about solid waste issues. Now primarily this dealt with provincial policy, but I think that the greater questions apropos. I was gobsmacked when I was doing my research at the pernicious, vile, evil way that businesses had undermined and sabotaged some very progressive policies to limit solid waste that had been put forward by conservative, NDP, and Liberal governments. This ranged from the tire fund for recycling being used to launder money. We have the eco fees. Businesses went to great lengths to add that, to change the cash register so that they could shove a thumb in the eye of consumers. There were companies that were actually advertising things like fire extinguishers for a certain price, and then you would get it, and then the price would be twice as much because they added on the eco fees. And that was all designed to destroy the eco fee system. I mean, it's very obvious if you know anything about marketing. Same thing, the U of G was putting out advertisements about compostable Keurig cups. Just total flaming nonsense, and they knew it. They had to have known it. Because I know the people in the recyclers associations were telling them that. Now, how do you guys, what sort of ways do you think government can fight against the just sort of evil way that business people have been undermining and sabotaging what little progressive legislation we already have?
Thank you. I think that's actually a really big issue that's happening right now, especially when it comes to talks about climate change. The very famous phrase is neoliberalism has conned you into fighting climate change alone. And I think it is corporations like these that are lobbying hard to convince the public that waste is their problem, and it is their problem when they choose to use a plastic bag or a plastic straw, when in reality it is corporations like these who are fighting hard against the government to make sure that they get to dump tons of waste into the earth every day and get away scot-free. And I think that is something that needs to be re-examined. I think better restrictive laws around lobbying and around what is happening right now need to be developed and re-examined. And I think this obviously needs to be more public knowledge, but obviously these people obviously lobby newspapers too. And I definitely think that as a society, we need to morally figure out where to shift the blame. It is not on individuals who maybe don't have the money to always buy a reusable bag or reusable Tupperware, and it is in fact on these corporations.
I've had a good fortune of working as a design engineer for a plastics injection molding firm in the automotive industry. And that exposed me to a lot of different plastics, and I have some understanding of the challenges that businesses are facing. Of course, they're facing competition from other businesses, and they're trying to figure out how to make their product so it survives and it gets to the customer without being broken, so they don't have waste. There's different things going on there. So what could the federal government do? There's a lot of resources that have done on different types of plastic. If we could provide some guidance in our manufacturing sectors to head to one type of plastic and eliminate some of the varieties of plastics, it would make it much more easy to recycle. Requiring businesses to take back their packaging would be another great way to have that waste not end up in the landfill. Mostly, I wouldn't demonize industry, and I would actually work with them and say, okay, how can we actually make this in all of our best interests?
Thanks for your question, Phil. I really do appreciate that. And I think that I share your concerns, and my biggest angle on the concern is my concern about regulatory capture. I think we see it in three particular industries concerning most. Agriculture is one, the nuclear sector is another, and pharmaceuticals is a third. So with agriculture, we have, I believe we still have the challenge with, I think it's the Canadian Food Agency, its responsibility is to maintain standards for Canadian food, but it's also supposed to be promoting Canadian products abroad, and that's a conflict of interest, and that needs to stop. Second, with respect to the nuclear industry, I don't think we have it quite as bad as the States has it, as well documented. If you get a chance to read Gregory Jasko's book, Confessions of a Rogue Nuclear Regulator, it's really an eye-opener about how completely damaged the United States regulatory system is for nuclear. I don't think we have it quite as bad here, but it's still a concern for me, and I think that we are not making the right decisions about the future of our nuclear industry because the industry itself that has a profit to make from outcomes is making too many comments about decisions, and too much influence over the regulators. And then finally, with respect to pharmaceuticals, the big issue that I have is about generics, and being able to make sure that cheap generic drugs are available, and that we can make, as governments, bulk purchases of drugs to make it cheaper for Canadians.
It seems to me that what we need is full life cycle accounting, and that includes for packaging. And I think in order to do that effectively, we should have standards for packaging, and there should be much more uniformity. I agree with you on that one, Steve, that there should be much more uniformity of packaging. I think a carbon tax could help here too. I know I'm sounding like I think the carbon tax is an answer to everything. It is simple, and it does send good signals to business. And with respect to plastic, a lot of plastics are still made from fossil fuels and oil, and I think it would help if that price went up. I'm wary of too much regulation because too many people can game the system, which is what you seem to be alluding to. But if there's a clear price signal, and if we think about complete life cycle cycling, and we think about having some uniformity in packaging, I think we can go a long way to addressing this issue.
Thank you, Bill. So when you asked this question, the first thing that came into my head was a story I heard about how Court, who runs the Park Grocery and the Woolly, and I recently heard a story about they were weighing their garbage, their solid waste, to see if they could figure out a way to reduce it. And they discovered that most of it was potato skins from their mashed potatoes. And so they started serving roasted potatoes instead. And they stopped putting ketchup on every plate. They started offering ketchup instead. And their waste was reduced in a huge way, and their customers were happier. And as a small business owner, when I heard that short story, it opened my eyes to what can I do to change my business, and how I approach waste, and how I approach garbage. And speaking to B Corps that Ralph mentioned earlier, with B Corps as a B Corporation, part of the structure of being a B Corp is focusing on that. And so if we fostered that group and that policy and encourage other businesses to look to turning their perspective towards this B Corporation strategy, I think everyone could move forward with more positivity. I'm a firm believer that education and storytelling can help us move forward. Like, as soon as I heard that story about Court, it changed my entire perspective on how we can change things.
audience question, a show of hands. Please raise your hand if you are under 21 years of age. Yes. My question to each of you would be this. If you are chosen to be the Guelph Greens Candidate, what is your plan to mobilize the youth vote, given the extremely high level of apathy and cynicism that is up there? Thanks.
Good.
Well, one of my favorite things to do is to be involved in the Christmas parade. I love to dress up as a Santa elf, and I ride my bike, I put elf ears on, and I go along and I say, Santa's coming, he's coming, Santa's really coming. And one of my favorite things about that is I do love all the children along the way. But also, there was two high school students who were volunteers with the Green Party, and I connected with them, and I just kind of stayed in touch with them, and they invited me into their high school, and they wanted to understand what is happening, what is the Green Party doing right now, and I explained about all of us fantastic nominees and how Guelph is just really excited that we can really do this again, and so building those relationships and connecting with students in their classes, being with them is really important. Democracy Guelph, we gathered 3,800 signatures in support of electoral reform. And one of the ways we did that is we went to the University of Guelph and we just talked with students. We had a volunteer team. We just went in there and we were talking to students, and students really care. They really, really care about democracy. There is some, my time's up. Is that what you're saying, Brad?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay, so students really care.
This is absolutely true, and I want to make sure that I mobilize the Emilys of the world, and Emily, who spoke about the tool libraries, one of them, Emily Robinson, is helping me out with, she's the vice president of My World, My Choice. This is a group at U of G that is mentoring, University of Guelph students are out mentoring high school and middle school students on sustainability and climate change. So we're out there, these students are out there teaching the youth how to be sustainable. So these are university students. They are treated like rock stars when they walk in to the high school gymnasium in a way that I never would. And we need to leverage more people who are excited about that. And Emily D'Souza is another Emily that's doing some great work. She's leading a group called Youth Action on Climate Change. They had a fabulous event at the Arboretum a couple of weeks back. They had about 250 high school students out, and they were doing My World, My Choice program, and they're encouraging the students to get mobilized and get excited about climate action. And then there's the climate strike that just happened a couple of weeks ago. The students that are lobbying in support of Greta Thunberg and her climate strike. And it was disappointing. There were only 150 people out. The newspaper said 150 youth. I was one of those 150 youth, so they were stretching it a little bit. So I think there are plenty of opportunities to mobilize youth. I'm already in the thick of a lot of them, and there's more out there. It's just really exciting what's going to happen.
I was at a meeting in London in December. It was the Ecological Farmers Association of Ontario, and there were a lot of young farmers there, and I've never seen so many young farmers so enthusiastic, even when land prices are really high. And one of them said to me later that it was like Hogwarts for farmers. They loved it, and they had a good time. But I want to get to the despair about this. My students tell me, and my daughter and my nieces and nephews tell me, they have despair about the future. And I think we have to take that really seriously. And part of the reason they're not involved in politics is because there's just too much nonsense. And there's too much negativity. And I think it's really important to be clear with a positive message about what we want to do. I think it's really important to listen to young people, seriously listen. There are teachers in many ways, and I think we have to acknowledge the despair. It's serious, and work with that the best we can. And as Greta Thunberg said, she doesn't want to be patted on the head to say everything's going to be fine. It's not. She wants us to panic.
I think a big thing I can do to motivate the youth vote is literally represent them. Right now, our young voters are looking at the government and not seeing themselves in it. I'm already really involved in this community. I mean, you ask the 8-year-olds I teach, they do not guess 30, they guess 21, and thank you, smart children. I'm so grateful for it. But like, that was my problem. When I was 18 and I was able to go vote, I didn't. Because I didn't see myself there. I didn't see anyone that could represent me. I didn't see anyone that was talking about the things that I care about. And so already working in elementary schools, high schools, university campuses, all over Ontario, and seeing those communities all over the globe, being able to see someone that you identify with is going to mobilize them. So just by already being in that community and letting them see someone that lines up with them, green hair or not, they're going to listen more because they can see themselves in the government.
So, a huge issue is the lack of representation in politics, as Haley's mentioned. When I look at politics, I see people from very similar backgrounds. I see the privileged. I see the people that are making policies not being diverse, not being from the minorities. And the youth are diverse. The youth are so diverse, and they're just not seeing themselves represented. And as someone who is a member of RT Activists and a member of United Against Oppression at the University of Guelph, a lot of the time, these policymakers, because they're all from the same background, they just don't even consider these people and their backgrounds and their minorities. And so I think a lot of the time, they're not going to go and vote because at the end of the day, they're not going to be people that are going to listen to them and their problems, real issues impacting them. And I also think there is a very strong sense of nihilism, whatever, within my generation. Gen Z is known for it because at the end of the day, we're being left with a dying planet, and we're angry at the past generations that have failed us. And at the end of the day, we're saying, what does it matter? We're being left with a dying planet anyways. And so a lot of it is kind of a sense of anger and hopelessness, but at the same time, I think there is the generational difference when it comes to like accessibility. I think that the platforms that they use aren't the same as the platforms that political parties use, and therefore there is a staunch lack of information getting to them.